Hello, my name is Susan Heald. I am the Textile Conservator for the National Museum of the American Indian, and I am going to show you how to fold a garment for housing in your collections. I have a shirt here. It's kind of an interesting construction, and I picked it because it's a little bit fussy and difficult to fold, because it's not something that wants to lay flat and plainer. I have this laid out on a piece of Tyvek. We call this the hard Tyvek, and we use a lot of our garments and textiles that are not rolled, that are put flat or folded. We put on a piece of Tyvek that's trimmed just around kind of the not close silhouette, but a general silhouette of the object. So then when we need to move it, we can slip a board underneath and just pick it up and take it to a table. So it really, the Tyvek is nice and slippery, it doesn't rip or tear, and it's durable, so it's a good thing to use as a support. Now for this textile, you can see it's kind of full. When I fold them, and the folding is going to be dependent on how much room you have in your storage. You might want to put it in a box, so you want to measure your box and then try to fold it so it'll fit into your box. And if you have the Tyvek, you can also, with a Tyvek support, you can also lift it up as a sling if it's folded. So you can lift it out and then put it right on the table. When I fold textiles, whether it's flat or garments, I like to have them laying on the table, face up, and I fold to the center. And that way, if you don't know how big the piece is, even if it's a large textile that's maybe folded into thirds, you always know where your center point is, so you can orient on the table for your researchers or whoever's coming in to look at the textiles. So we use several things. When you're folding, you want to try to pad out the folds so you don't get creases. We use material called baccarod. This is a material that's used in construction for gasketing. It's a polyethylene foam. And what's nice about it, especially if you're in a big hurry and you have to get a lot of things ready to go into storage, this is something that can be cut with a pair of scissors or a knife, but you're really stuck with the 1 inch, at least with this case, with the 1 inch diameter. But I'm going to show you a way to make your own. We call them rollies. I'm going to deconstruct it and reconstruct it. This is a piece of acid-free tissue on the outside. And on the inside is this is a sheet of polyethylene foam that you would use as a shelf liner and drawer liner. So what you're going to do is roll it. Let's see. You're going to roll it up like in a roll like that, or you can make it bigger or skinnier, whatever you need. And you're going to take your tissue, and just like we rolled the textile, you're going to overlap it a little bit, roll it up tight, and you're going to take the excess and stuff it in the end. So it's all kind of mechanically held in place. There's no adhesives. If you decide you don't like the shape or the length, if it's too long, you can unroll it and cut it out, or make your roll a little tighter so it has a smaller diameter. And this is something that you like. This would be the perfect size, although it's a little thick. I'm going to unbutton this. Or you could put that in the shoulders and make another one. So that way you would have the shoulders, and especially with this shirt used to have shoulder pads, so it was quite thick. And the shoulder pads deteriorated and fell out. But that fits really perfectly in the shoulder there. So you may or may not need that, depending on your garment. And you know what else I'm going to do before we start folding this? I'm just going to pick this up so you can see kind of the complexity and how it's cut. It's not, some garments are really straightforward and some are just a little complicated. So with this one, because we have all that fullness around the waist, I'm going to start by trying to get this to lay flat on the back. And you can see there's already a fold in there, and the way it's cut, it's really It looks like it's symmetrical, but it's really not. And, because this is something I bought in a thrift store, I made some repairs, and I also pulled it a little bit so it would fit better. And that is also making it not planar. Okay, so we've got the back maybe as flat as we're going to get it. Now, you could put some padding in these folds here, but this has got so much fullness, if you put too much padding in, you're going to build up a lot of layers, and it'll be a little funky. Okay, so now I'm going to close the front. I'm not going to button anything. I'm just going to leave it open. So now I'm going to try to fold some of this extra skirt part in and try to keep it flat. Now, if we put folds in here, if we put padding in the folds, we would have a pad here, we'd have a pad here, here, and here. So that would make it kind of bulky. And I don't know if that's necessary, but you can use your judgment. I think if you were going to put another piece in a box directly on top of it, you might want to put a little bit of padding inside the folds. This is complicated. That's not bad. I'm going to overlap the bottom. Okay. So we've got the sides are. It's pretty good. It's kind of like that. And that's probably as narrow as we're going to be able to get that. Okay. So with the sleeves, I like to put. We're going to use the backer rod. You know, maybe I'll just put one of these in the shoulder. We'll just see how that goes. So we've got one in the shoulder. So we'll do one without padding and one side with padding. So I like to fold the arms in, do the fold if you can, fold along a seam, because the seams are going to be a little bit stronger. And when you fold, if there's damage or maybe heavy embellishments or beadwork or quill work, you want to avoid those kind of embellishments and any damage. So I'm going to put this backer rod right outside the seam here and fold it over. Okay. So see how this is kind of good. We still have the padding in the shoulder. This is folded here. I mean, ideally, maybe you'd want to pad the, you could have a piece of backer rod in here, or a rolly if you had, especially if you had decoration along the sleeve. A lot of options. Okay, so there, that's pretty flat. Now, sometimes what we do, if this is a long dress and the storage is tight, I would put another rolly, another piece of backer rod right across the waist. And usually I would flip up the skirt, but because we have all this accordion folding going on, you'd want to leave that where it is, and then you could fold this part up over top and lay it over the skirt. So you have a small package. And then when you go to unfold it, and sometimes the backer rods and your padding also helps you handle it because it gives some stiffness. So let's fold this back out. So this format would be how we would put it into flat housing. And what we do with the excess Tyvek, because you want to keep the excess Tyvek so when it comes out of collections and you put on the table for someone to look at, you have all that you need. So what you can do is either slip this under the garment this way, if you had damage on the garment, you wouldn't want to go that. If there was damage on the back, instead of folding in, you could also fold it. You could fold it under. There. But then you can put your board underneath, move it into the housing. One more option I'll mention, which is more work. This is soft Tyvek. You can sew this on a sewing machine and make a little tube and then stuff it with fiberfill. So that's also something you can use to pad out. But I think this is a lot more labor intensive than making the rollies with the sheet foam and the acid-free tissue. Or you could also use the soft Tyvek around the outside of your handmade rollies. So those are some options, and you just have to use your best judgment to get all the folds in, make it a small package, depending on your storage situations. And that's how we would fold a textile.